The amazing AOC, watch us rise. For the love of the star, for the blue in the sky. From a dream to a movement, now we can't be stopped. Cowboys forever.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Attack on Cowboys. We are here today with the homie Ray as we about to get into a serious dialogue because since the arrival of young YN Shiesty, there's some guys on the Dallas Cowboys roster that are going to be put on notice. All right, there's some dudes that fans may actually like, some names that fans may recognize that may have to find themselves a new home.
I think initially, normally starting off when they do their cuts, it's about 5 or 6 receivers make it on average. If I'm correct on that one,
that would make sense. That would make sense. I think 5 or 6 receivers sounds about right as far as the number of guys you want to carry into a season. And let's just say that 6. Let's go on the heavy side. Let's say 6 guys. Especially since they just traded for GP. That's the thing, too. They just traded for George Pickens, so I know that they have a better idea of what they want their receiver room to look like. They traded for George Pickens. They traded for Jonathan Mingo. You have to assume those 2 guys are going to, obviously GP going to be on the roster, but you would have to assume Jonathan Mingo going to be on the roster. So I think that the Cowboys are probably going to be flirting around with that 6, maybe 7 receivers number because of Kevontae Turpin's designation as a receiver. I could see them carrying 7, and that would essentially leave that question left to be asked, like which receivers actually make it out of the current receivers that we have. Which receivers do the Cowboys actually allow to make it onto this roster? And we can see towards the bottom of this list, we have 3 guys, or really 2 guys that are undrafted free agents from this year's class, and Treshaun Holden and Josh Kelly. And we actually have a graphic here showing how many undrafted free agents usually make it for the Cowboys since 2020. And it's on average about 2 of them. But go ahead.
And let me clarify this graphic because I didn't clarify this graphic. This is to make the practice squad, just so y'all know. This is for who makes the practice squad as far as receivers. So if we're saying about 5 or 6 are going to make the active roster, then there's 2 more that normally make it onto the practice squad. All right. So let's start off with 2024. Jalen Cropper, Kelvin Harmon. The year before that, we got Jalen Cropper, Tyrus Johnson. Okay. 2022, Dontario Drummond and Brandon Smith. 2021, Osiris Mitchell and Brandon Smith.
Boy, some of these names you name it, boy, it's on y'all pulling them out the hat.
Yeah. In 2020, Jonathan Johnson and Aaron Parker. But notice something here. If you check between 2021 and 2022, you see Brandon Smith. He made it 2 years in a row on the practice squad. Jalen Cropper has made it 2 years in a row.
And here's the thing with that. Here's the thing with the making it 2 years in a row thing. That's actually it's cool, but at the same time, that essentially that's their 2 strikes and they're out because the way that the practice squad works, we just briefly talked about it. You get 16 spots. 10 of those spots have to be rookie or second-year players. So Jalen Cropper essentially was on the practice squad for his rookie and second season. Now this third year, he would be taking up, if they wanted to keep him, he would take up one of those 6 spots, one of those 6 veteran practice squad spots. One of those very valuable 6 veteran practice squad spots, by the way, because remember, Dalvin Cook was one of the guys taking up one of those spots last season. Carl Lawson was one of the guys taking up those spots last season. He was super productive. So those 6 veteran spots on the practice squad kind of give you some leeway to mess around with that 53-man roster number and kind of still stash a good veteran on your practice squad. So Cropper is going to be someone that could be at risk of not having one of those practice squad spots because he kind of goes into that next tier of practice squad like, okay, these are super valuable spots right here. So that's something to keep an eye on right there.
Remember that this practice squad has also been a way of manipulating the roster. When you have those difficult cuts at training camp, they draft them. They cut these guys and sign them to the practice squad. Perfect example, Cooper Rush. They cut him essentially, but signed him to the practice squad. Will Greer, that happened too. A lot of guys they eventually wanted to elevate back up to the main roster. They essentially cut them, quote unquote.
So that's something to keep in mind. Yeah. So that's something to keep in mind as we sit here discussing who may or may not end up making the roster. So now that we've kind of laid the table for it, let's actually discuss what receivers could actually make it on this roster after the addition of George Pickens, right? So if we look at this, we currently have CeeDee Lamb, George Pickens, Jaylen Tolbert, Kevontae Turpin, Jonathan Mingo, Jalen Brooks, Ryan Flanoy, Paris Campbell, Jalen Cropper, Kelvin Harmon, Treshaun Holden, and Josh Kelly. Now, I'm going to say this. I think that Treshaun Holden and probably Josh Kelly both end up making the practice squad because they're rookies. And they're going to take up one of those 10 rookie and size second-year player spots. And usually, we just looked at the graphic, they usually have 2 undrafted free agents make the practice squad. So I think those 2 are damn near guaranteed to be on the practice squad. I don't think either one of them starts the season on the 53-man. So I think from there, we're really looking at Kelvin Harmon, Jalen Cropper, Paris Campbell, Ryan Flanoy, Jalen Brooks is really being up for discussion as to who's going to make the roster. Because I'm going to be honest, Ray, obviously I don't see them cutting Jaylen Tolbert, right? I don't see them getting rid of Kevontae. They just paid Kevontae terms. We got to use our common sense here. So those first 4 names on the list, really the first 5 names that you got listed right here, bro. CeeDee, George Pickens, Jaylen Tolbert, Kevontae Turpin, Jonathan Mingo. I think if you flip Jonathan Mingo and Kevontae Turpin, you actually have your depth chart right there. I think that Jonathan Mingo is going to end up being wide receiver 4. Tolbert's going to be 3. Pickens is going to be 2. CeeDee's going to be 1, obviously. And I think Kevontae Turpin's going to be used as kind of like a gadget guy.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if Jonathan Mingo's a lock.
I think he a lock, bro. I think he a lock.
I don't know, because if one of these guys get in here and just really have a lights out training camp like Flanoy, if he picks up the steam where he left off last year, end of last season and training camp, preseason, I don't know. He could push Jonathan Mingo for a spot. Like, I don't think Jalen Brooks is going to make it. I think he's had every opportunity.
Jonathan Mingo's a better athlete than Jonathan Mingo's a better receiver all around than Ryan Flanoy. You got to remember, bro. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. We fall in love with our own guys. You got to remember, Jonathan Mingo, it was a second-round graded guy by every team. It wasn't just that a team reached him. He was a second-round graded guy, bro, and played 1 season with the Panthers in a year where they had 2 head coaches and no quarterback.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Then he came to Dallas and was getting passes thrown to him by Cooper Rush, which me and my channel, we've already went and looked at his tape. He was open more times than he did not. And Cooper Rush was just missing the dude a lot. I think that it's damn near going to be impossible for Ryan Flanoy to beat out Jonathan Mingo. I'm gonna be honest. Yeah. And Jerry gave up that draft capital, and they usually like to see that through. And there's no way that you're gonna convince me that Jerry them is going to allow another season to go all the way through and be played out without actually seeing whether or not that 4th round pick was gonna be worth it for Mingo or not. I think he gets on the field regardless, bro.
I think you have to see him with Dak. I think that's what the thing is. After you saying that, they want to see what he does with Dak. Okay, and I mean,
he's a prototypical receiver, bro. I mean, if you look at how they've tried to build this roster out, they want a very specific body type of player. They want a guy that's over 6 foot, especially receiver. They want receivers that's over about 6'1", 6'2". They want wide catch radius guys, and Jonathan Mingo is a guy that can play X, Y, and the Z spot. You know what I'm saying? So he's going to have some position flex. I think Flanoy, he's better served playing on the outside. So that kind of limits what he can do. In a Jonathan Mingo, you can go out there and play multiple. You can be multiple from the same look now, because him, CeeDee, and George Pickens are essentially interchangeable. You can put George Pickens on either side, and you can alternate between CeeDee and Mingo being in the slot or whatever you want to do there. And then obviously Jaylen Tolbert is going to get in there where he fits in. And I think that, honestly, the bigger question for me is, how does Jaylen Tolbert fit in here? You were talking about Ryan Flanoy pushing Mingo. Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if Mingo pushes Tolbert. I was just literally
about to ask you that question. I was about to ask you this question. We just did the video with that guy, 2 Live Craig. If y'all haven't watched that video, after this, go watch that video.
And I stood on business.
You stood on business with it. I stood on business. Also Jaylen Tolbert.
I stood on business with Jaylen Tolbert. I was like, I know you like him, but
hey. Yeah. So, and that's what after we started doing this video, it made me think, okay, could Jonathan Mingo now push Jaylen Tolbert for playing time?
I think he could. I think he has all the tools.
Because this is a make and break year for Jaylen Tolbert. This is the last year of his rookie deal. He's playing for a contract somewhere, whether there's another contract here in Dallas or vice versa someplace else. Right. Honestly, I don't see Dallas repaying Tolbert because they got to pay Pickens and a bunch of
That's
other
what I'm
people.
saying. I think Tolbert's gonna end up being a casualty, bro.
Or he could be a guy that they can go trade and maybe get something for him. I don't know.
I mean, that's
They-
not a crazy.
I-
That's not a
I wou-
crazy thought.
I
It's a
wouldn't throw that
few of
out
these
there.
guys on this team, Ray. I would tell you, there's a few of these guys on this team that I think if you were to trade them at the right time, you would still be able to get some value from them. Mozzie Smith, if you're not convinced on Mozzie Smith, you're not sold on Mozzie Smith, you go out there and try to find another veteran nose tackle post June 1st, and you trade Mozzie Smith, bro. And get some value from him. Donovan Wilson. You have guys that was on the bench that you feel like can come into the game. Wanye Thomas. You have guys you feel like can come into the game and make an impact. You trade some of these guys that you feel like you have better options behind them. Not only do you have better options behind them, but you got depth behind the better options behind those guys, right?
Yeah.
You have Wanye that can come in behind a Donovan Wilson, but guess what? You still got Izzy, and you still got Marquise Bell.
Smith.
You see what I'm saying? So you got depth behind guys that could be better than your starters. I think that's where the Cowboys really are going to have to make a lot of their tough decisions. And I think that the amount of receivers that they have on this roster is going to force them to start making some really tough decisions, because I genuinely believe that they want to keep. I see 6, 7 guys probably off rip, bro, that I can see them wanting to bring into the main roster.
Yeah.
You see, I see CD, obviously, he's locked.
Yeah.
George
It's a lock.
Pickens, it's a lock. Jaylen Tolbert, I believe, is a lock. It's a lock.
Yeah.
Dak ain't letting them throw Jaylen Tolbert away like a
No,
wet
no,
diaper,
no.
bro. They not. And I think that Shotty likes Jaylen Tolbert. And I think that Tolbert has shown his team enough to where they feel like they could get more out of him. Like I said with 2 Live, though, my thing with Tolbert is, can you physically dominate your own space enough to where you're not a liability in the run game when you need to block?
Yeah.
Right? That's my thing with Tolbert is, can you dominate your own space, bro? Can you maintain your balance at the top of your route without getting knocked off? You know what I'm saying? Can you do all of that? That's the stuff I'm looking at with a Jaylen Tolbert. But I think he makes this roster. Kevontae Turpin, obviously. So that's 4 right there before you start getting to guys that you can even try to argue, like a Jonathan Mingo. I think the draft pick trade, they're 100% keeping him on the roster, bro. The Cowboys don't throw away guys that they trade for that quick. They let it play out. Right? So that's 5. 100%. That's 5. 100% that we know going to be on the roster. They just signed Paris Campbell.
Yeah.
They got Ryan Flanoy, Jalen Brooks. It's 3 other guys that you like, hey, I can see these dudes making a roster.
So this would be what, is this year 3 for Jaylen Brooks?
I believe so.
Okay.
Because
So
last
if
year
they
wasn't
wanted
his
to keep
rookie
him-
year.
So if they wanted to keep him around, he would take one of those veteran spots on the
practice squad. Yeah, he would take one of those 6 vet slots, but
But here's the thing, we can't even kind of figure that out, because there's always some surprise cuts.
Yeah, there's
There's a
100% going to be some
across the
surprise
league.
June 1st cuts
Yeah.
that a guy may be coming off a little naggy injury, and the teams just kind of want to stash him and let him get healthy on the practice. The Cowboys going to end up using at least 1 or 2 of their spots on that, bro.
Yeah.
And Carl
honestly,
Lawson ain't been signed back yet either. That's the other thing. I wouldn't be surprised they bring Carl Lawson back to play on the practice squad again.
I would think him, maybe a Linval Joseph too would be a shocker.
I could see a few vets.
So man, it's gonna be hard for one of these receivers.
They're gonna genuinely have to cut ties. They're gonna genuinely have to be like, all right, man, it was good, but you got to get the hell up out of here. You gotta go home, but you gotta get out of here. They got to do
so
that
from that knowledge, I can see Flanoy and Holden as the 2 that make it to the practice squad.
Okay. So
I can see
Flanoy being a
Flanoy-
second-year player,
Yeah,
and Holden being
Holden.
a rookie.
yeah.
And Josh Kelly may be a little too slow, because that's his that's his biggest thing is his play speed is not super impressive. So I think Josh Kelly could end up being a casualty just based off of that. Athletic wise, I don't think he's going to be able to keep up with the other guys on the field. Kelvin Harmon, I know they like Kelvin, but I think that he's going into his 3rd year now. You know what I'm saying? So he's not going to be able to take up one of those rookie spots on the practice squad. They're going to genuinely have to part way. Bro, I think they like Ryan Flanoy. I think Jaylen Brooks is going to be the odd man out, Ray.
I think Jaylen Brooks is
I
done.
think Jaylen Brooks is going to be the odd man out, bro.
Unless the only way he makes it, but we were seeing what we saw the last graphic, It's an average of 2 receivers have made it to the practice squad.
Right.
Unless it's the one occasion they may, who's the third receiver?
They do 3.
We carry 3. And I think in this case, if they
But do they
carry
need
3,
to do that though? Like I feel like you
No.
carry more guys at a position when you're not really sure what the top of that position looks like, right?
Yeah.
I think I think that they are pretty damn set on what the top of their depth chart looks like I mean, not even just the top 2 positions. I think they're
Yeah.
set on what the top 4 spots on their wide receiver depth chart is probably going to look like. They know it's going to be some combination of CeeDee Lamb, George Pickens, Jaylen Tolbert, and Jonathan Mingo.
Yeah.
You know,
But
and
also, too-
Turpin's going to be thrown in there as a gadget guy here and there,
Yeah.
but he's not going to be really used. I don't think he's going to be really taking up a ton of receiver snaps this year.
Yeah.
I can easily see them going CD, George, Jaylen, Mingo, Turpin,
Devontae?
and then Flanoy. I
Yeah.
can see them doing that. And Jaylen, because I think that they really like Ryan Flanoy. And
I
me
think they really do,
personally, I
yeah,
think
yeah.
Ryan Flanoy has
Yeah.
shown more than Jalen Brooks just in the limited time chances he's had.
For sure.
Yeah, so I think that Ryan Flanoy ends up making his team still. But I think Jalen Brooks is going to be a casualty. I think Paris Campbell, I think that he may end up being a camp cut. You know what I'm saying? Because now, do you really even need Paris? Like, what do you have Kevontae Turpin, so what's the point of having Paris Campbell out there? You know what I'm saying?
Maybe he could be one of those veteran slots Paris Campbell could slide into, essentially, possibly.
Right, maybe I don't know. Maybe have him around for experience. I don't know, leadership. I don't know.
So from those rookie second year spots, I'm gonna have to say Holden. Holden probably makes it.
I think Holden's gonna make it.
Then
That connection with Junior
Harmon.
Adams, I think, is gonna mean a lot.
I think Holden and Harmon.
You think
Maybe
you think that
those two
they like
spots.
Jalen Cropper too.
Oh, but they'll be year 3. Remember, it'll be year 3 for him. So do you want to waste, that veteran spot we've been talking about here? So I don't know. They
kind of got a log jam at receiver now, bro.
They do.
They're gonna have to get rid of like half of these guys that's on this list. It's always weird to me when teams sign guys and free agency didn't cut them. So that almost makes me feel like they're not gonna cut Paris Campbell because it's like you robbing them of an opportunity somewhere else. You know what I'm saying? It's like it's kind of like doing bad business if you sign a guy and he's like, I'm gonna cut you though. You know what I'm saying? It's like, damn, I could have signed with somebody else and actually had a spot on the team, bro. So that makes me feel like they're not gonna cut Paris Campbell. Either way, let's say the Cowboys make 6 guys. They do 6 only. Who are the 6 that you think they will pull?
If we're doing 6, CD, Pickens, Tolbert, Kevontae, and that's an asterisk next to that because he is listed as a receiver. But
He gonna take a spot. He gonna take a receiver spot up.
All right. Mingo, Flanoy.
Okay.
Those are my 6.
I mean, I can't disagree with you. I think I got the same exact 6, to be completely honest. Sorry, Jalen Brooks. I think that's just how that cookie's gonna crumble, bro. I think that Jalen Brooks might I think he kind of feels that too. He gotta feel it. He gotta feel that pressure, bro.
Wasn't like Troy Aikman very critical of him, like in a game or something like this? Like, you gotta do more for your quarterback. Like,
it was Aikman. But yeah, man. Let me know down in the comments below, though, chat. Let me know what y'all think. Let me know if you only could pick 6. If you could only pick 6 off this list, let me know down in the comments below which 6 would it be for you guys. But either way, appreciate you tuning in. Till next time, how about them Cowboys? Man, shut your up.
Calling me, texting me, paging me, asking me, am I still them boys? Y'all usually check on me. Listen. I'm still them boys. Hey! Woo! Oh, shut up, my boy. Hey! I'm still them boys.